Hey guys. So today I'm gonna be writing a post, basically writing a post that talks about why is content so hard for most accountants and bookkeepers. So I want to kind of give you guys some different answers on that today. And I'm doing a couple of things. So I'm actually recording this on my phone, and I'm gonna like have the transcription. So, first things first comes out of the ideation. So I'm making this post. I'm like trying to write a long tail post for my school group. And I think it'd be kind of cool if you guys understand like content and like how you make content, think about content. So this is like behind the scenes. So there might be some like times where it's like slow or fast, but it's gonna be very informative about this. So content. So why is content so hard? So the first reason is going to be engagement versus conversion. So when I think about engagement versus conversion, most people, when they're starting out, they just think I want to make a piece of content. Like in a lot of cases, it's not really a purpose behind it, right? So like a lot of the posts are like, 10 reasons why you should hire a bookkeeper, or like, hey, I'm in business. And there's really going to be 2 to 3 main goals of content. For today's video, I'm going to focus on 2 different goals. So engagement and conversion. So engagement is like when you see people like commenting, or sharing on your posts. Conversion is when people actually want to like buy something from you. So in most cases, you are constantly having to oscillate between those two. Because if you only make posts that cause people to want to convert, you're going to what's called burn out your audience. They almost start to tune you out because all they think is like, oh, this person just wants to sell me something. The only reason they write, the only reason they make content or do a post or blog or whatever is just to sell me something. So you don't really want to do that. You want to mix that engagement. Now, engagement can also become from value. So when I'm thinking of engagement, I always want to give people a reason. Um, I always give them a reason to engage. So for me, for example, that could be something as like simple as like top 10 tax planning tax code breakdown that you can use to lower your tax in your business, right? Or how to start a bookkeeping business, free guide or whatever. I'm always giving something away that's going to have a lot more value. So I'm basically training and teaching people that every single time that I'm going to post and I ask them to make a comment, then whenever they do comment, they're rewarded by something that's very valuable or very helpful for them. So I'm strategically boosting my engagement over time, right? And that's how like you might see like if you were going like one of my Facebook groups, right? You'll see like I have like posts where there's like hundreds of comments, right? It's because that's been systematically done over time to constantly giving away more than I'm asking for people. So when I do ask for a conversion, or I do ask for someone to buy or do something, with me or give me some money of some form, I don't need to make a lot of them because I have so many eyeballs on it and it's buried within the content. So we're going to talk about that first, okay? So when we talk about conversion, conversion is more of an art of knowing like when should you be asking for things. So you can do a very direct call to action. So let's take a step back. So when I think of conversion, I'm thinking of calls to action, right? And there's degrees of it. So all a call to action is like I'm basically telling someone to take some next step towards work with me, whether that's giving me money, whether that's to book a call, whether that's to reach out to me and send me a message, whether it's to go to my website. You're always telling someone to do something. Now, a direct call to action is if you have nothing else in the post outside of work with me right now. That can look like, hey, I have 10 spots remaining. Please book a call with me to see if I can help you. That's a direct call to action. Now those work, but again, you will run into the kind of learning to balance how many of these you can make in a row before your audience gets tired of that. So for me, for example, I very rarely make a very direct call to action. I'm always going to do indirect call to action. So it's always something like, hey, if you want help growing your business, click the link down below to book a call with me so I can help you. right? It's that if I'm going to make a content piece, it's always something like that. And I'm going to bury it and mix it within like my post so that it doesn't feel like I'm asking without giving, right? Because it kind of goes back to the engagement versus conversion. So I'm going to be every time I ask, it has to be tied to towards I just gave you some value. So let's say, for example, if I'm going to make a post, the most highest percentage of the time in the post that I'm asked for a call to action is 25%, right? So it means 75% of whatever I make is going to have some element of value in it. Now, in my case, I do it more like 95-5, but I'm saying for, for someone else, this could be at least, a 3-to-1 ratio. So 75% is going to be spent on value, 25% is based on call to action. Now, one thing when it comes to call to actions as well is like, do you want to put your call to actions in the beginning of your content? Or do you want to put it in the middle? Or do you want to put it in the end? I found I like doing 2 call to actions per post. So for me, I like putting my call to action in the beginning, and I also like to put my call to action about 75% through the video. So I don't like putting it exactly at the end. Like I'll do it at the end, but like if I had the choice, I would put it like close to the end, but I want to like bury it inside of it, right? Because if you put your call to action at the end, a lot of people won't actually like share it because that's all I think it is at the end, right? It's like the impression they leave with is that this was just a sales pitch. So instead, if you can just kind of like slide it in there and make it very, very just like normalized, then it works very well. And it's very easy for you to go and get like people to want to work with you, right? So that's conversion versus engagement. Um, Another thing to note is that these two are not always interlinked. So, in a lot of cases, the post we're going to get a lot of engagement does not mean you're going to make a lot of money. So, I've seen where someone had like 500 comments and they didn't get a single sale out of that post, right? So, it's like it's not always just about getting a lot of engagement. Sometimes the posts that are going to give you the most either dollars or clients are the ones where it maybe has 0 to 1 like or 0 to 1 comment. That's just what I found, and it's like that's not a bad thing. So you have to really understand it. Now, within the next thing is going to be platforms, right? So engagement versus conversion across platforms. So all platforms, I'm done thinking about in this example, like a social media platform. So we'll talk about 3 main platforms. So Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. We'll start with Facebook first. So for Facebook, you're generally going to see a higher engagement when you give things away. So like we talked about before, when you're giving away value. So that's like giving away free guides, white papers, bookkeeping calculators, subscriptions to QuickBooks, like you give your wholesale discount away, et cetera, et cetera. Anything that's like you're going to get more engagement if something's free than if someone has to pay for something. Um, and we'll talk about like, paid versus unpaid stuff, but that is the gist. Now, on LinkedIn, let's say, for example, when it comes to engagement, you're generally going to get lower engagement amount on LinkedIn as compared to Facebook, but people generally do tend to convert at a much higher percentage of your total audience. So, what I mean by that is that on Facebook, you will get a lot of people liking, commenting, and sharing, but you won't get as many for the same piece of content if you post it straight to LinkedIn. And that's not a bad thing, right? So, you have to understand like that balance between the engagement versus conversion. So for me, for example, on Facebook, I love giving away free stuff, and then that free stuff leads to more like value. Then like they basically keep getting more value and more value until they want to work with me. Versus on LinkedIn, generally on LinkedIn, you should display your skill set and your substance more than just giving stuff away because people just won't engage on it, right? So also what I found is that on LinkedIn, it's easier to kind of put a link to a calendar. So like for example, if you're like a Calendly app, that's good because then people can directly book calls after they've read your post. And it works super, super easy if you do it like that. Next thing is Instagram. So on Instagram, right, it's gonna be medium engagement. So you're gonna have good engagement to a certain degree, but it is more visual. So that's like video, pictures, and less like word driven. So that's not a problem. The audience on Instagram I found is a little bit very, very high quality. So you will be able to get clients from it, but it is harder to put booking links inside because usually it's going to be either your story posts or your bio is the only place you can like really have like live links that will be able to click to your booking page. So I don't necessarily like it as much for the content element to use Instagram. Instagram would be better if you can use content that drives people to want to message you directly. So the engagement on LinkedIn, I'm sorry, the engagement on Instagram is going to be more hidden because people are going to message you directly. Awesome.